Hello world, welcome to a Champions Online build showcase. As requested, I have developed a heavy weapons archery build that can also tank Gravatar. There are a few things that I messed up, such as picking the wrong innate talent. I have no idea why, but the powerhouse build has what I meant to pick, but the spreadsheet will reflect what I actually picked. I have no idea, but whatever. Oh, and I also picked up the wrong heroic gloves for some reason. It's not really a leveling build, mostly because I fiddled around with it a lot, trying out the different heavy weapon powers, and it does rely a lot on Constitution. Rank 5 mods aren't too terribly hard to find, but it can be an expensive build. For gearing, I just went with the standard heroics and rank 5 mods because I didn't want to drop a whole lot of money and time trying to get Legion or Justice gear. If it can do well on heroics, then that should be good. It will only be better with better gear. I don't know why I picked up the crit chance gloves instead of the crit severity ones, so this build has a little bit low severity. I did have one strength mod, but the health ended up being a little bit low, so I would go with just all 6 being con mods for Constitution, since it does a lot of things for this particular build. And if you actually hold aggro, you don't need int, so I would either go with more strength or more Constitution on my secondaries instead of the intelligence that I have. The only thing that's so far disappointing about the build is the low health. Because this is a punch things in the face to heal, having 14,000 or more health would be much better. So just probably stick in more Constitution than what I have. And of course having rank 7 instead of rank 5 mods would also help. You could swap intelligence for recovery or endurance. You shouldn't have any energy issues. I mean, you are tanking, you should be able to hold aggro, since I did put crippling challenge on annihilate, and of course the circle helps with that too. But intelligence seems nice, it has the cooldown benefits and the cost discount. It's really just a typical strength, Constitution, and intelligence build, nothing fancy. But Constitution does a lot for this build. You have it for Juggernaut, which means lots of defense. You have it for Defiance. I think Defiance is the only passive that scales only with one stat. Most of the other passives scale with whatever your super stats are, but Defiance only scales with Constitution, so the more you have, the more you are going to defend with each stack. And then of course Con for Sentinel Mastery. The more health you have, the more health you heal. It's 2%. And then of course Ego Surge with Nimble Mind for crit chance. I think you should be somewhere, I think it's triple. When you're under the effects of Ego Surge, it's triple the crit chance. It's at least double. So it's a nice boost. And then of course, Constitution for Enrage stacks. How long the Enrage stacks stay up depends on your Constitution, so the more you have, the longer they stay up, which probably doesn't matter with Annihilate since it's knocking all the time. Pretty much every hit is a knock. It does help when you're clearing mobs, since Rain of Arrows doesn't have a knock. Being able to have that extra leeway when you're clearing mob to mob so that your stacks don't fall off by the time you get to the boss is nice. Although usually there's a cutscene, so your stack will probably fall off anyway, unfortunately. I did talent for Dexterity to have a little bit more crit chance, not a whole lot. I took Wither just because it has that nice little debuff. The enemy takes more damage, since I'm going to be stunning all the time anyway, might as well throw in a debuff. For trash mobs, I decided to go with Vicious Descent plus Storm of Arrows, or Vicious Descent plus Thunderclap plus Storm of Arrows. Basically, you start the fight by jumping on everyone's head and then shooting them all to death with arrows. By the time you get to level 40, Storm of Arrows has a pretty much non-existent cooldown. You can use Storm of Arrows and you can use a Thunderclap, and then Storm of Arrows should be good to go again. It also gives you maneuverability. You can walk around while you're maintaining Storm of Arrows, which is pretty fun. Vicious Descent gives you at least 1 enrage stack right from the get-go, since Storm of Arrows isn't going to. You could go with rank 3 or the advantage for root. I decided to go with more damage because I like damage. Ultimately, I went with Annihilate for my single target damage for bosses. Cleave is fun and I do like combos, but I wanted the crippling challenge. And Skewer is a really nice power too. It does a ton of damage, especially with the initiate advantage, and when you tap Skewer, it does very high damage. It might be the highest damaging power in the set, but again, there's no crippling challenge. And the biggest reason is it's harder to keep up enrage stacks and to build them. You could use Unleash Rage to maintain enrage stacks, which is fine, but and Endorphin Rush becomes pointless if you use Skewer, because it will never be used enough since you're only refreshing your enrage stacks every 30 seconds. Well, of course, Annihilate comes with the please knock responsibly warning. Even on tap, Annihilate will send things flying, which is pretty funny when you're doing with mobs, although I'm sure the rest of the team probably doesn't think so. Against knock resistant targets, it gets a damage buff. I believe it's 20% on tap and then 10% at full charge. I know it's dumb, but basically Annihilate taps should be doing more damage than fully charging. Of course, if you are soloing, fully charging Annihilate is always a hilariously good time to just watch things fly all over the place. For the passive, I went with Defiance. There's no need to rank it up. You will get all 6 stacks eventually. It probably shouldn't take very long at all. And if you want, you could start a fight with Masterful Dodge, so it gives you time to build up all your Defiance stacks, and it protects you when you're setting up and all that good stuff. I only picked 1 heal, Conviction. I prefer to use the 90 billion healing patches and tons of wreck for all my healing needs. Elixir is an excellent choice. I mean, just frees up a slot, and it's pretty much simple background healing. Conviction powers molecular self-assembly, so you should have no shortage of energy. Unleash Rage is a nice spike. You can use it probably around every 30 seconds at level 40, once all of your cooldown reduction kicks in, maybe a little bit more, so usually in the 30 to 45 second range, it should be normal. Thunderclap it's pretty much a point blank area effect stun on tap, and it procs Sentinel Mastery, and then Sentinel Mastery heals you when you're punching things in the face, well, stabbing, I suppose. It heals 2% of your health every second, and of course it also fuels MSA, Thunderclap. Having the advantage causes it to hit everything in 15 feet instead of within 10, so I usually just go with the advantage. It's not for damage, it's just for applying the stun. And Ego Surge is more crits for more damage, which means more aggro. If you wanted to be more tankier, or you wanted to have like a second heal instead of using 1,000 healing patches, or if you don't want Elixir, that's a good option too. Something like Resurgence, because, you know, sometimes things just happen, especially if you're taking a lot of damage in Gravitar. Like if you have to eat one of the death bubbles. You should, at 12,000, at just over 12,000, I'm not entirely sure if it could live through an unblocked orange bubble. It's kind of, I think it would be borderline, which is why, another reason why I say the closer to 14,000 for this type of build, the better. And I know I use Circle of Primal Dom a lot, but I really hate Nox and Gravitar. And sometimes the circle is the difference between losing aggro to every single other tank around you and holding aggro the entire time once you set up. It does boost your threat generation, and it has a nice little defense boost. I did try Gravitar without using it, and there were quite a few tanks, so we pretty much were passing threat around. And then, you know, Nox. The Nox drive me nuts, so I will often take Circle of Primal Dom on a character just because of the Nox and not having to deal with them so badly. After trying out several passives and different heavy weapon powers, I'm happy with how the build turned out. The health is a little low, but fixing that definitely would make this build better. Remember though, if you use Annihilate, knock responsibly. Don't be that guy. Don't do it.